P's and B's pretty pleased as we get to game number 3. LG on the left side. They've got the first pick and, of course, the first pan. So we'll see where they go as we switch things up for the first time this set. SSG has had first selection, both game 1 and game 2. And so with the blue and white moving over there, maybe we'll see a different picks and pan phase.
I still think Space Station are going to stay strong on that Zeus ban at the very least. Maybe even looking to take down the Merlin. Well, I mean, almost same time. I think that Space Station have kind of made it clear they'd rather deal with King Arthur as opposed to the Merlin. Of course, this is also, I think, dependent on what team they're going up against. Xaliea doesn't really strike me as somebody who wants to pilot the King Arthur. Xaliea, for me, feels like Terra. He's Sobek. He's going to play the heavy utility, not necessarily the spam abilities and force you to acknowledge me.
And if he is going to play the carry, it's going to be a devastating carry. He's going to play the assassins, the Bakas, the Najats. It's funny. Either he wants to never die and not really kill you, or he wants to kill you and not really have that never die mentality. Very rarely will we see him play like a Chalk or something.
Something that I have noticed, though, with Luminosity is that if Space Station choose not to ban away the Zeus, I almost have to wonder if Space Station would maybe be looking to even prioritize the Ganesh pick for themselves. We've seen JeffHindla definitely being, like, ready to sign off on the Ganesh. I mean, Space Station has had some great success whenever they've gotten Jeff onto the elephant, and with the Amus and Cobb being banned, Zeus is a possible pick here now for Oceans. I'm just not certain that Luminosity would really want to make it their #1 go-to choice.
Picking Zeus first overall is a little bit rough because there's so much that can deal with it. And this is exactly kind of where I expected LG to go. Space Station Gaming, again, a little bit of history. If you haven't watched the past 6-7 weeks of the SMITE Pro League, 8 weeks, I guess, LG has won and found success even in the games that they've lost off of early game starts via their jungler, the molluskk. And the molluskk made a name for himself as of late on the Serqet, the Ratatasker, and finding first blood over and over again. Even in games they lose, Space Station focused on that first and foremost in games 1 and 2. Serqet make it through. LG snap selected.
Well, Serqet has a ton of mobility. I wouldn't mind seeing a possible RDO pick. I still think the Ganesh could stand strong here. Ganesh with that silence is just so problematic for Serqet when she's looking to all in on a certain target. But the Xbalanque is also a pretty tough choice to opt away from.
Yeah.
And for BaRRaCCuDDa, I would not be surprised in the slightest if Space Station decide to just solidify the Xbalanque. That Darkest Night has definitely made a positive impact. At least in game 2, it felt like Space Station were able to be a lot more threatening with that Giannis through space and time, because you genuinely could not tell which direction it was coming from.
You can't see it. I mean, that's the biggest deal about Darkest of Nights. We look at patch notes that came out yesterday, and Xbalanque is losing his stun at the end, and if you ask the pro players, it's a nice change, but still, the lights turning off is the biggest deal. So turning off communication at this level is almost unmatched. Love the Ganesh selection from SSG. You mentioned JeffHindla played very well on the Ganesh, and that's certainly true. Also, Serqet's a character that is tough to play into the silencer.
Zeus Kabrakan? I want to see Zeus Kabrakan for Luminosity. And it could be a Kabrakan for Xaliea, it could be a Kabrakan for Kiki. It seems like a little bit of an oddball pick, but I like the idea of having the tectonic plates to kind of force a stop point. Yeah, exactly. There's just no way for Space Station to really try and escape from that. And Xbalanque and Ganesh are two guys that I think are already going to struggle because they're dash-oriented guys. They're not guys that have jumps or leaps that can easily get away.
Xing Chen, I'm going to say again, I just want to keep seeing Xing Chen. So I like the choice here, whether it's a port, solo, certainly a powerful, controlling choice, which is perhaps the most important. King Arthur, 6th selection overall. Neither pick nor banned, not first, not second or third, not 4th or 5th, but 6th. I gotta say, a little surprised.
I'm not as surprised. Well, like I said, I hard-pressed to believe that Xaliea would ever want to prioritize a King Arthur pick. It's just not his bowl of cereal. He's just not you know, or some people like Lucky Charms. Maybe he prefers Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's just
everybody
hard
prefers
to distinguish. That's not necessarily true. I prefer it, but you know.
Well, that's because you're intelligent.
I'm not going to shame marshmallow lovers here. Okay, marshmallows are delicious. Magically delicious, according to production.
Second round bans coming out. Space Station gonna ban. So Sobek will be taken away out of the draft right now, and Fenrir also. Space Station Gaming again looking towards control. Sobek and Fenrir, very different characters, but the one thing that they do is they lock players down. If you want somebody on square A, Fenrir and Sobek are going to make sure that they get there. And so Space Station Gaming want to make sure that nobody can bring them. That displacement is really what they're looking at. LG, on the other hand, just in the mid lane. Two very different mid laners, but two mid laners they don't want to deal with.
Fenrir and Sobek are also two gods that Xaliea has already played today, so Space Station are aware that if somebody is going to be piloting either one of those choices, it's probably going to be Xaliea. I don't feel as though this Xing 10 is really as ambiguous as you might wanted it to have been for Luminosity, but I understand why they would want it in that third pick selection choice, because you want some form of heavy peel for your Zeus. I think that Xing 10 is an excellent setup, man, for the Zeus and even the Serqet. I think that if you can get the Xing 10 to burn the initial relics, or vice versa, Serqet burning the initial beads and Aegises, then that's going to pose a whole new slew of problems for Space Station now of trying to escape that Xing.
Jormungandr selected here after the Hebo. So big damage coming out here for Space Station Gaming, either the jungle or the mid lane. Unheard of just yet. For LG though, I think it's a little bit more cut and dry, believe it or not. Serqet likely to be in the jungle, Chernobog and Xing Chen on opposite sides of the map. Jormungandr will probably play support and Zeus mid, or that's where we see Xaliea walk away from the Xing Chen and we see the Xing Chen support. Here's the deal. If I'm making the team, I think Xing Chen support is probably what we see. If Kiki's on the team, Jorm support is probably what we're going to see.
But I don't think we're going to be able to see a Habwa in the mid lane for Venenu.
Yep.
That Neith hover could be a possibility for a double hunter composition, and this is heavy stun potential for Space Station. You've got Darkest Night, you have World Weaver, and all of that is going to be the exact type of hard crowd control that you would desire on the Habwa.
You ever play Dead by Daylight or games like that?
Yeah, I've watched a lot of Maswell playing them.
That's Habwa this game. You're not going to escape him. Neith is going to stun you while he goes, Xbalanque is going to turn the lights off while Habwa's like, Ganesha is going to silence you while Habwa's like, He's just going to walk at you and you're going to die. Space Station Gaming have a nice draft around this Hebo.
I just love that Neith pick to finish things off. It's kind of just the cherry on top for me, for sure.
Well, we'll see if SSG get their perfect Sunday as we go to game number 3, Luminosity versus Space Station.
It is Thursday, right?
It is Thursday, yeah.
Sunday. Okay, LG, SSG, tied up at 1-1. Both games, in fairness, should have gone the other way, but they both find the wins, so we're at this point. So whoever gets the lead in this one will lose it, and the other team will win, is what we should know.
So what you're saying is we're definitely going to a game 5, no matter the result of this game.
Who knows? We'll find out, you know? Like, they like to throw. That's what we found out so far. The compositions, though, this is like a little bit more crazy in terms of compositions. LG, a little bit more magic heavy. They've got a lot of control on this roster too, Tony, but so does SSG.
They absolutely do. I like both of their drafts, and you can tell that Zeus was given up on purpose because they wanted to ban away the Amusin Cobb. And the piece of the puzzle that Space Station Gaming believe that allows the Zeus Ganesh to work is the Ganesh more than the Zeus itself.
Right.
And that's why they drafted andinster's Habwa to maybe just outright kill Oceans before he gets off most of his Zeus damage.
Is this Pythag piece number 2 for Xaliea here?
I like it more on the Jorm than I do on the Sobek.
Oh, interesting. Because he stays at range?
Because Jorm...
Well, he doesn't really.
Well, yeah, like you can use your range a little bit where you don't have to get too far out of position. Sobek's a little vulnerable during the pluck animation. You're standing still for a while. Jormungandr has the escape option of World Serpent, so you can get away with being less tanky as a Jorm compared to a Sobek.
Both supports over in the solo lane to begin, and there won't be any invades. It'll be a straight up, down the lane extravaganza. And know, it's all up to Aquarius and Jeff to try and get a bit of dominance here earlier on, as Xaliea now drops that spit down as well. AoE auto attacks from this Guardian, so he does have to clear the wave effectively for the most part. But you can see that Kiki's getting a little bit pressured there earlier on, which you'd kind of expect. Aquarius and Jeff with the initial engage that goes well for them.
The very first time we're seeing King Arthur today, surprisingly enough, out of the 3 games last set and the 3 games today, andinster making his presence felt in the duel lane multiple times.
Those pings straight away was on molluskk's face. I'm like, no, he's here again, don't go for the gank. Jeff still going at it with Xaliea and Kiki at the same time as Aquarius is. Aquarius in the front line. It's all about who's got the most sustain overall here. And I think that's one of the reasons for the tiny trinket. It does allow a little bit more of that from this Jormungandr.
That's very true, but not hitting level 2 off of this wave. You need about 1 more of that blue buff Ogre minion to get that one. And it looks like Space Station should be able to control that Totem of Coup, but no, they want to get the wave as quickly as possible to hit level 2.
And he was trying to take away these oracles. Actually, indeed, Space Station get both the oracles. Now molluskk, he was only level 2. He's overextended and paid the iron price. He'll fall down, and another first blood for BaRRaCCuDDa.
Meanwhile, in the 2v2 in the solo lane after the abilities, LG going to press on forward. They have archers available.
Oh, I love what Joshy did, though, on the left-hand side. Sure, you know, the rotation out of molluskk didn't work out for them, but he does freeze him off an entire wave almost on that left-hand side to try and answer back the death. So experience-wise, it's still going to be even between the two in the duo lane for the time being.
An interesting skirmish battle in the solo lane. You would expect the Warrior Guardian to favor out the double Guardians, but so far, Xaliea and Kiki have been able to hold their own. More stacks for Xaliea on the Warrior's Blessing as opposed to Aqua. And LG were the ones to first claim the Totem of Coup.
Definitely feels, though, looking at that solo lane matchup, that Arthur's just going to do whatever he wants and Xalia's there to survive in the grand scheme of things. Because Xalia's kill potential on his own, not really there on the Jormungandr, I'd say, against a King Arthur.
Well, there is kill potential before magic defense has been completed. And if there's ever a window to find it, it would be pre-level 5, where Arthur is going to be the one doing the killing. But you can't really lift Xaliea with the Excalibur's Wrath.
That's a good point. But you can stun it. That's the one thing. So you can't use the big ultimate. You can use the baby one over and over again, potentially. Cause some problems there. I think the big thing is the silence from JeffHindla this game. On the Ganesha, the Ohm could make a big difference here. A lot of characters on LG that really rely on their abilities. Serqet, certainly. Same can be said for Kiki on the Xing 10. Silences are one of those crowd control effects that are so frustrating for some of those characters to deal with.
Joshy switching things up now on the Kronos pick, picking out this Chernobog instead. His pick was delayed quite a bit, but despite all that, Kronos wasn't really banned away by Space Station Gaming, so you just opted for a little bit of global pressure. Maybe it's because you don't want to have a Zeus and a Kronos. You want to kind of switch things up, and it's clearly evident that LG will prioritize the Zeus for Oceans if open.
Interesting to see Kiki going for the sprint at level 1 in terms of relic option here. Didn't upgrade it either, so wasn't looking for kill potential with it. But it does mean that he's looking for it as the game goes on to be instrumental. Now, I'm looking at what Space Station Gaming have on offer here. I guess they've got a couple of slows you're worried about.
There are a couple of slows out of Space Station. The carpet is going to be annoying to face. The Dharmic Pillars will create a slow. You got BaRRaCCuDDa's Poison Darts to worry about. So, yeah, sprint is going to be good from Kiki. Wouldn't be surprised maybe to even see a couple of Wing Blades as the game progresses.
molluskk, because he discovered the right-hand side of the map exists. I say that because he was focused so much on the left earlier on, doing a good job of that, but he gets hit by the ult by Aquarius, and there's a World Weaver coming in too. It might have to be eaten by Xaliea, but Xaliea did not manage to eat it at all. Instead, molluskk gets taken out by an Andy with the crushing wave will take down the worm and invade the blue buff soon after.
Well, you can't lift Xaliea with the Excalibur's Wrath, but if molluskk is present without purification beads, he's an easy target. He allowed more time for andinster to get closer for the follow-up. An additional World Weaver out of Venenu from mid lane was just enough to seal the deal.
So, LG's going to win the game now, right?
Oh,
like
because
that's the rule.
Oh, because the Space Station's ahead early?
I think it's it's a gentleman's agreement they've agreed upon themselves, it feels like. We'll find out if SSG can come back into this one, I say, as they're winning right now. Tiny Trinket in the jungle for andinster, no real surprise, more than likely a Bancroft's talent for a Hebo here. Definitely interested to see when Xaliea finishes off his tiny trinket, if he does go for that Pythax piece again. Kiki, though, getting aggressive on Venenu. Jeff got baited into an awkward spot there as he was trying to help out his mid laner. But luckily enough, he's getting some support from andinster. Joshy, though, turns up in the nick of time to take Jeff's life and put LG on the board.
Oh, the poison actually exploded on the minions, and andinster ate a couple of those poison sticks. A little bit of an awkward engage onto JeffHindla. Kiki's ultimate brings out Jeff outside of the Zeus lightning storm, but at least still finding the kill.
When Andy trying to contest these right-hand harpies here. One's down so far. It's going to be a 1-for-1 split overall. I checked the gold difference. It's 1,000 up for Space Station.
A little funny interaction there, Oceans, trying to detonate where no one had minion aggro on that right side mid-harpy camp. And that's kind of important to understand in terms of Gold Fury / Fire Giant objectives, but right mid-camps, you kind of get reminded. Better to remind yourself this early in the game as opposed to later.
Aquarius, though, with the Shillelagh. I can't remember the word for something.
Oh, the Shillelagh?
I knew the word. I was just going to get it out of my mouth. I'm interested
Shillelagh.
why is he gone for it early and not the gladiators here? Is it because he's not going to get so much poke damage off onto Xaliea? Is that the reason?
I think health is better against a Serqet jungle because you're not healing off of your gladiator shield if you get last breath. So base health helps you against the magical damage and also covers your options against a physical jungler.
Speaking of that as well, I think one pick into a Jormungandr that's going to be useful as a Hebo because of the water spout being a knock-up. Xaliea uses his ultimate there looking for a target. Didn't find Andy either time. The third shot should be a defensive one and will be towards the blue buff pit. As Kiki now comes in, Andy knocks him up as the second dash is there. Silence after the back from Jeff. And the collapse onto Kiki begins, but Kiki turns it around with an ult of his own. Aquarius pulled under the tower and loses half his health. But more importantly, the blue buff is secured by LG.
LG, we're just wanting to make sure that Xaliea confirms his own blue buff. A good peel from JeffHindla because Kiki wanted to use that ultimate so much sooner. You can tell his positioning to double jump in, look for somebody on that backline. andinster delays it with the knockup. Jeff delays it with the silence. So ultimately, Aqua at least keeps LG honest. They had to overcommit with 4 players on the right side to defend their own blue buff, allowing BaRRaCCuDDa to get quite a bit of farm on the left, winning the stack race by 11 for the Devil Gloves.
We'll see how that works out as time goes on about finishing it. If it does make a big difference, in the grand scheme, it's just about how much poke you can take and sustain back off of minions, how quick as well. Going back to the Hebo versus Jormungandr idea, the water spout is going to not knock you up, but it does increase the amount of damage that's going to be done to Jormungandr. And the fact that straight after that you use the water hands, there's a good chance Andy is there really to try and take down one of these front liners.
10% damage amplification for 2 seconds. Could hurt Jormungandr, despite not being able to get displaced with the Arthur ultimate. I'd rather, you know, take the Arthur ultimate than maybe take all the damage from andinster's Hobwab, but, you know, it's a catch-22.
That's why I'm kind of this opinion of like this build that he may go for this game in terms of similar to what he did with his Sobek of the Pythax piece rush into all the items that we don't see too much, like the Jade Emperor's Crown, for example. I'm not sure if he's going to be as effective. He may have to go tankier this game, especially against double hunters and a Hebo.
Yeah, he'll definitely need to go Void Stone. Kiki, though, in the mid lane, using that through Whirlwind.
But I've got its name. Through Space and Whirlwind is what you just said.
I was about to say. But not able to cash out anybody in the mid lane. Kiki's always looking for opportunities regardless. This is the kind of player that he is. It doesn't matter if he's playing this support or Long Shen. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel. There we go. I knew it was like Whirlwind of something.
It's okay.
I'll just call it
a tricky one. Spin to win.
I'll call it the washing machine.
You could do that too. That also works. Also notice that Kiki did go for the cooldown reduction boots too, and that's allowing him to, he's not too worried about spamming this. He'd obviously like to connect, but if you can try and keep Space Station pinned back and scared of the initial engagements, it could cause problems. Right inside though, Aquarius has caught molluskk, who was trying to defend the blue buff. Darkest of Night used by Xbalanque on the left-hand side. BaRRaCCuDDa trying to help out his teammates there, as molluskk is forced back and blue buff is stolen by Space Station Game.
This time LG were not in position the same way they were last time with the 4 players, but Kiki could be in a little bit of trouble. andinster holding on to that ultimate well timed, knowing that Kiki was going backwards through the water spout. If that water spout connected while Kiki was still moving forward, getting closer to andinster, that's probably an offensive ultimate every time.
BaRRaCCuDDa on the left-hand side, just trying to zone Joshy away from some of this experience as Joshy was picking up the red buff in the jungle. He loses a couple of creeps to the tower before getting the experience there, but it's still even as it stands. Oh, 10 minutes in though, Pyro's now spawning. We'll see if that does make an impact, because last game, LG really did pay a lot of attention to that right-hand side.
They definitely did. They wanted that Pyromancer, and it's only worth 500 gold. They never really lost Gold Furies in the process. The Space Station Gaming really never pulled the trigger there. So I wouldn't be surprised if LG continue that sort of aggression, but the problem is they don't have that early advantage they did in the previous games. It's a 2-level lead for Aqua, and he's playing the King Arthur. He actually delays his Blackthorns to finish off the Glads.
Venenu does eat a kiss and is forced to beat defensively there. JeffHindla will use his ultimate as well to escape the noose and make sure his teammate gets away. Kiki didn't find a home.
Those Dharmic Pillars completely stopped Kiki's pathing. Couldn't make any use of that ultimate, and that's going to allow all of Space Station Gaming to turn around and now go for the Gold Fury.
Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, a man fight beginning between the two, but like you said, the Gold Fury under threat. Kiki's here, no ultimate available, and only level 7. Squishier opportunity here on towards a Guardian, but right side, molluskk is trying to punish with the support of his teammate, but he goes 1 for 1. So Aquarius comes up big there for Space Station as they also get the Gold Fury.
But he doesn't get the wave, and that's going to allow the rest of LG to confirm this tier 1 tower on the right side. But SSG might have an answer in the mid lane. Not able to stop Kiki during the double jump. The damage from Ocean's going to keep SSG honest for a little bit longer. 500 gold responded as LG crumble away at the tier 1 solo tower.
I will say LG are starting to telegraph what they're doing as a composition now. molluskk and Kiki seem to be the leaders and the initiators on this team, and it's showing over and over again that they're the ones going aggressive to start these fights. Then have the likes of Oceans to back them up with the positioning. Get some extra damage on top. Pyro under threat right now. LG going to take that for themselves.
So yes, they are telegraphing those engagements, but that's how they have to do it. molluskk and Kiki are the ones to go in. Xaliea is going to be on the cleanup with the World Serpent. The problem that I'm seeing in the future for LG is who's going to protect the backline from Oceans and Joshy.
I think it was more to do, I didn't mean like in terms of this game, I just mean in terms of their season now. LG are really establishing that it's going to be the support and the jungler that are doing the initiations and leading, you know, choosing the engagement in this team, which is a good sign, because that's kind of where you want the control to be, you know, that you want those people to be the leaders to an extent in that option.
That's true. Sobek on Xaliea last game wasn't too fruitful. Not too fruitful on this gank, though. molluskk going to get absolutely decimated. It's important for Joshy to clean this up.
The Whirlweaver came through, and Joshy timed the beast to perfection and shuts it down. The Whirlweaver did come through, and Jeff was saying, sorry, BaRRa there, you saw him talking on the screen. It was fired, but the beads was just well timed.
Oh, now andinster in a 1v2, forced to use that ultimate defensively. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, not going to be able to hit out andinster.
And now Xalia's ult is on cooldown, so he might be able to pick up the tail end of andinster, but he will go down in trade. Venenu credit with a kill. Joshy ults in on this left-hand side at the same time as he takes a tier 1, swoops on in, looks towards Venenu now, and he gets the kill. Aquarius, though, will answer that back. Zeus ult dropped in response, but Aquarius might not be done yet.
Oh, he's definitely not done. He found out one, trying to run away from molluskk, not able to get off that slash onto Oceans. A 3 for 2 at the end of the day. Joshy rotating does confirm the kill, but with that death, BaRRaCCuDDa should be able to pick up some farm.
Maybe he just respawned, though, is the big thing. Or like came back from base, I should say, because he had that big old trade on the left-hand side. Because that went from fight in the duo lane all the way to a fight near the speed buff on the right. It ends up being a 6-7 lead for SSG in terms of gold and kills. Experience-wise, well, it's about even.
Yeah.
It's still close, but SSG have a small lead.
Very close game, 14 minutes in. A lot of Totem of Coups going the way of LG, 6 to be exact, 750 gold advantage. molluskk, I think, got hit by the Whirlweaver. That's why we see the stun. JeffHindla was thinking about chasing that out, but not able to really get in range the way he wanted to with a dash and Dharmic Pillars.
Yeah, the Whirlweaver came through nicely. I think if Andy would have hit the water spout initially, but molluskk did a better job of juking that one out. Wasn't the issue. Gold Fury's still down for a minute or two. It's going to be a Primal Fury up next. One of the ones that's going to help out that Fire Giant when it hits 25 minutes in. So you do want to try and take those down where you can.
7% extra damage on that Fire Giant. Never a bad thing, especially if you are the Zeus or fighting against the Zeus, trying to outdamage that burst.
Speaking of the Zeus in the mid lane, pretty quiet so far from Oceans. Not had to do too much, I guess. I mean, player damage-wise, is in the top 2, which is what you were hoping for a Zeus in this position.
Well, with how aggressive molluskk and Kiki is, that's fine. That's totally fine. Oceans just needs to play follow-up at the end of the day. It's important for him to just not get exploited in the backline. I was
going to say, similar position to AMC anyway as Zeus, right? You want to play it the same sort of style.
Yes, but the problem is that Zeus doesn't have the same mobility as an elusive cop. He is truly an immobile mid.
Xaliea just loses his tower on this right-hand side. It was on his last legs anyway, so no real surprise. But he does lurk away to safety and picks up the totem of coup. Makes that 6 totems of coup for Luminosity so far this game. Space Station really haven't invested much into it, even though they had the King Arthur. Now, though, it's the tier 2 tower under threat, or more importantly, BaRRaCCuDDa.
Trying to survive as fast as he can in a 1v3, but he's healing so
Joshy.
much after the last breath. Joshy gonna ultimately fall, but with Aqua's rotation, he's gonna get a second one.
This fight's everywhere. Andinster just get a kill, but he's gonna go down in trade to Xaliea after he uses the World Serpent to his advantage. 3 for 2 engagement that goes Space Station's way for now. Tier 1 tower did fall in the mid lane too. So now LG slip a little bit further behind in terms of gold here.
Space Station defend their tier 2, they crumble away at LG's tier 1, get the better end of a team fighting trade, and Aqua still pushing the left-hand side. Might force out LG to play defense on the left side to enable SSG to get a gold here.
Essentially, yeah. I did like what we saw at Joshy then too. I mean, it was an over-aggressive play on this left-hand side, but the fact that he commits for the kill on BaRRa, knowing full well that his window of opportunity to survive is very, very minuscule here. He's got a very outside chance. He still went for it, because I think he was trying to dash in the wall and maybe dash back out again, but just didn't clip the wall in time. He eats that tower shot, but gets the kill.
He does, and that's the kind of player Joshy is. We saw in the Chronos in game number 1, that quadra kill was just absolutely nutty, and then since then, that really put Space Station in this weird limbo mode of figuring out how to dive the backline onto Joshy, and that ultimately cost them game number 1 because they overcommitted on Joshy.
SSG trying to wrestle back control of what a game they expected to win, and they will do so with the Primal Fury there. Although JeffHindla gets pulled in by Kiki, taken down by Kiki too. And now the fight after that will not involve their support. BaRRaCCuDDa needs some help, and he needs it stat.
He doesn't have his dash available. He's going to die right to Joshy, even under the Lightning Storm.
Aquarius.
Joshy, with 1% health, gets away.
And sure, BaRRaCCuDDa may die, but it means the rest of the carries of Space Station Day Gaming can pick up the pieces. Aquarius picks up molluskk there, and that's a 3 for 2 engage. LG didn't get the goal, the Fury, we remember. That did go to Space Station. Still, though, SSG marching on towards Xaliea here.
Oh, he's taking a lot of damage in return because of the Thorns, but now Aqua changing his mind, going on the Jormungandr. Great double knockup from Kiki, buying time. Xaliea gets out. Looks like Kiki's getting out as well.
And now he's going to chase them back around the other area there. Xaliea will slip away, and that's full credit to Kiki. That's classic support mentality there. Like, I may kill myself, but I may be able to make a turnaround, and that was a big play to keep Xaliea alive. Space Station Gaming, they'll fall back and immediately start the Pyromancer.
Absolutely nutty play from KikiSoCheeky. Didn't even have to use his sprint whatsoever. Thanking his lucky stars is Xaliea, but still getting the Primal Fury is Space Station, so they have a better chance of confirming the Pyromancer and the Fire Giant. They're just waiting out for the respawn timers, and Andinster's ultimate was just so well positioned there. He just took too much damage out of molluskk.
You will notice, though, as the series goes on in any single SPL set, and the more games they play, the speed of the game increases time and time again. Like, game 1, it was kind of slower pace in the early game, but look at how variedly fighting we are now. Xaliea pinned on the Dharmic pillars and destroyed by Andinster. Just stayed there too long.
Ocean's now in a little bit of trouble. He's forced to retreat, but instead Kiki looking for the ultimate, trying to get JeffHindla a little bit out of position. He's going to be able to dash away into safety with a 5-on-4 advantage. They're going to be aggressive on molluskk.
Molluskk has to jump away, and BaRRaCCuDDa going to get aggressive with the rising Jaguar. Will Weaver through to secure the kill. And it's starting to go really bad for LG now. You can see the level discrepancy starting to really develop. 3 levels in the solo lane for Aquarius over Xaliea. A level in the jungle for Andinster. And then the rest of the map, well, it's starting to go the same way. Only really Joshy keeping pace, if not ahead of BaRRa.
Kiki a little bit of trouble. The knock-up, but the crushing wave not enough to find Kiki. I don't even know if that connected.
Now the siege up from Space Station continues down the mid lane. They could look to try and take a tier 2, but with Oceans and Joshy still here, instead they'll fall back, just happy with what they got there. And now it's up to LG to get back into this one. They have the ability.
They do.
They have the composition too that could really make a difference. But I'm still a little bit about Xalia's build. I'm still not too happy about it.
They're only down 4,500 gold. Xaliea is not the tankiest target in the world, but he's got to play cleanup crew. He's going to be able to dive that backline and do a lot of damage. If he's sitting in the backline with Oceans or Joshy as well, they're going to be benefiting from the Pythagoras piece. Extra magical damage, physical damage, lifesteal for both sides. So I'm not in love with the build, but I don't absolutely hate it. And the way LG have played it, they haven't grouped up as 5 quite yet on their own terms, because Space Station are the one that are doing that instead.
I just don't know if his Celestial Legion helm is really going to help him much in terms of protections. Now, it stacks at 5, sure, right? But the problem is that both the Hunters have gone Odysseus bow, which means you're going to get hit a little bit more often than you expect as Kiki gets ulted by Aquarius. After the fact, Andy blinks in to follow up and close the gap. BaRRa's there too, but Kiki uses ultimate to buy him some time, but walks straight into JeffHindla. As Space Station Gaming are all over like a swarm of ants this right-hand side of the map, and LG were nowhere to be found.
That World Weaver meant go. Everyone from Space Station wanted Kiki. This level 14 Xing is a thorn in Space Station side, and with that plucked away from their side, they're able to get a tier 2 tower on the right, but they're going to lose one on the left.
Yeah, but they're going to keep on marching on too. I think the one thing that I found funny there is that Kiki's running back into his own half of the map, and the deeper he goes, you expect to find more members of your team, but he just kept finding more members of the enemy team. Xaliea, though, going to lurk. However, he's got granted vision there towards Venenu with the Unravel coming into play from that. Fall back from Space Station. Give him the speed buffs up, but look how they didn't care about it. Instead, Boss blinks on Venenu. Venenu does not panic and beats away instead. He just stands his ground. Joshy will take a tier 1 and the tier 2 in left, remember, on that left-hand side.
Oh, they want Joshy the stun out of Aqua, forcing out Darkest of Nights as well. Joshy gonna have to beats to prevent that little mini stun. Aqua still not gonna give up on the chase.
Kiki there though to save the day again with the route after the fact. Ocean splits the difference on the right hand side to cut off the angles. But it definitely is Space Station Gaming playing the aggressors here throughout this. They're the ones taking it to LG and trying to make LG have an answer. And so far, LG have not found one.
They haven't. They're looking for some plays. molluskk rotating on the left side earlier when he got picked off. He wasn't expecting BaRRaCCuDDa and Venenu to be there together, but that's what they did, trying to confirm their own red buff and then rotating after the fact. Space Station Gaming are just playing off of each other so well, and LG gonna need to return the favor with Kiki.
Ultimate from molluskk on towards Aquarius. Full investment onto Aquarius, but BaRRa's already taken out molluskk in the midst of the oceans. Will at least out down Aquarius for it, but BaRRaCCuDDa all the while was just swinging bowlers. He's gonna go back to base, and Jeff is low, but the stun slows down Xaliea. Joshy trying to wrap around the back and find Jeff, and he knows where he is because of the ultimate.
2 for 2. Space Station still fighting into this. Joshy doesn't have his ultimate to get away. Andinster with a blink. The Aegis out of Joshy can only buy him a second.
But he still goes down after the crushing wave too. Xaliea though, gonna try and answer this back now. Who's the target gonna be? Venenu will be the call. Ocean's did a bit of damage, as did Venenu. And as soon as he sees BaRRaCCuDDa there, Xaliea doesn't like his options anymore, and he might not like him here either. Rocks up in place, BaRRa gets another kill after recalling, coming back to the fray, and also gets the Oni Fury. LG need to be looking at game 4 here with how this is going right now.
Possibly. I don't know if I'm going to count out LG quite yet, Hinda Man. It's only a 6,000 gold deficit. Fire Giant was not touched quite yet. Yes, Space Station won that last fight rather convincingly, a 4 for 2, but there's still a little bit potential and hope. I think Joshy just needs to be a little bit tighter on when he dives that back line. It's not like the similar game 1 when he was the Chronos and left unchecked.
And that's the issue I've got with LG, where I'm like, I do think LG need to be looking at the next game, because that was them doing the Oni Fury. They initiated that fight, and they didn't do anything. Like, they got the kill on Aquarius, but lost 2 lives in the process of that first kill, and it just continued and snowballed on from there. I think their engagements, they may want to wait, let Space Station be the initiators now. They may want to sit back and do the counter option instead of being the aggressors every time.
I don't mind the fact that they blew everything onto Aqua, because a level 20 King Arthur is very obnoxious to play against. But maybe they need to get more value out of this Zeus Lightning stuff. Only hitting 1 target is not the game plan.
I mean, he steals a pyro, but he loses his life in the process, and I think that's just the tale of this game. Third game so far. Now, Fire Giant under threat, and no Kiki around anymore. Luckily enough, though, when he respawns, he'll move out of base a little bit quicker, but SSG will be moving down the lanes even quicker with the Fire Giant around the waist.
Yeah, I don't know about that play for Kiki. I think he was trying to ward. I didn't really notice if he had a ward or if he dropped it, that it got instantly countered, but checking around the corner without any vision, you're just asking for a bad time with no one beside you from your own team.
Listen, it's a support's job, right? He stole the objective, but it just didn't work out further. I don't even know if it would have made a difference overall anyway, but Space Station Gaming haven't all recalled here after the Fire Giant. BaRRaCCuDDa and Venenu already sieging up the right-hand side. Jeff in tow. Andy and Aquarius not to be seen just yet. Aquarius does have his teleport, however, and he's going to pressure out this left-hand side to make sure that there's no split push opportunities available.
The level 15 Xing Chen out of Kiki already respawned, so he can be here for the defense. Tier 2 tower in the mid lane, going to get looked at into the World Serpent in the back line is Xaliea.
Molluskk going to ult onto JeffHindla there, so the ultimate's been used then, and Whirlwind of Rage of Steel pulls Jeff back into danger. Joshy gets credit for the kill, and that's a frontliner down for SSG that had FG, but now Aquarius has teleported back in. SSG might not be done here yet. They're still sieging up, and they're going to backdoor this tier 2.
Yeah, just losing out the 1 life from JeffHindla's support. Still going to take out a 10% health. Tier 2 tower, SSG can easily get that 1,500 gold, extending their lead to about 6,500 plus, now 7,000 gold. A respectable lead, I would say.
Comfortable, especially with the Fire Giant on your team before the enhanced one even spawns. And there's only 1 tier 2 tower left standing here. SSG still have a bit of time with this as well, quite a considerable amount of time with the Fire Giant to be fair. But they can look for that tier 2 and it'll probably be about the same time as after doing that they can get the Primal Fury as well.
Primal Fury, they already got the first one, so the second one would put them at 14% objective damage, confirming the enhanced Fire Giant even easier.
And with 2 Hunters as well, that even makes the job easier over the top of that too. Aquarius on the right-hand side being looked at by molluskk, but you saw that ping. And I think that ping was Aquarius just saying, hey, I think they're around here, guys. A couple of pings going down, so everyone's trying to position. So it's LG setting a trap for Aquarius, but Aquarius is actually trapping them. He's got a rotation coming in from andinster, but Kiki's denying that option right now. Aquarius absorbs the ultimate out of molluskk, so that's not going to be a window anymore. Meanwhile, the most important factor for SSG is taking down objectives, and they're already whacking on the tier 2.
Xaliea does teleport in, but this is definitely a trap that SSG are setting up because BaRRa is right around the corner. They're waiting for Xaliea to get a little bit closer.
Xaliea will get walk forward a second, but the root missed from Venenu there. Still enough of a window, though, with 2 Hunters to take down the tier 2 tower. molluskk arrives, but remember, no ultimate available. Still getting aggressive, gets the kiss on Venenu. Darkest of Night Shoes, and molluskk disengages.
Arming Pillars even being used on top of Malas to keep him out of the action. World Serpent, third strike going to be used defensively. They're pinging out andinster on the bottom hand side. Kiki going to keep him in check, avoids the water sprout. But all of LG a little overextended. Andy looking for the blink.
They want Xaliea, but Xaliea already started to lurk underground to make sure he escapes the danger zone. Meanwhile, Chernobog did force back to base. Andy uses his bees there to make sure he stays alive as his Magi's clock was on cooldown. And the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel is down again. The crushing wave and BaRRaCCuDDa take out Oceans.
Oceans just dies during his animation. That's 3 dead LG members. 5 on 2. Space Station Gaming are looking to close out game number 3.
They should be in a pretty good position to do so now. It's only Joshy left alive with Xaliea as well. Both of them ultimates on cooldown. Relic situation for Space Station Gaming, not terrible either. BaRRaCCuDDa has both his relics up and beads available for Venenu. It's going to be a tricky defense for LG here if Space Station tried to commit.
Ocean's not a valuable ultimate, and this time without that lightning storm under the throne room, it's up to Space Station to just focus out the last objective.
And the Titan will fall. Space Station Gaming battle back in. LG, the initiators for a large majority of that game, but it's Space Station Gaming that play the game better.
That's right. Even though LG have been setting up so many traps the entire series, the one trap SSG set up under that tier 2 tower was enough to really blow the game wide open because they only had about a 7,000 gold lead into that tier 2 tower siege. Xaliea teleports in, takes a little bit too much poke damage. Everyone else engages, but they didn't know that Kiki was right there with BaRRaCCuDDa and Venenu. So once molluskk jumps in, he has to retreat. The World Serpent being used offensively from Xaliea means that once he disengages, he was out of position. And now it was up to Kiki to keep everyone safe by keeping andinster still in combat, preventing the blink. But then Oceans kind of just walks into andinster anyway underneath, and during the lightning storm animation receives a crushing wave for his transgressions.
The one thing that you can see from the player cams overall though is the difference between two teams. One is all relief on Space Station Gaming, especially after the second game, but this third one a little bit more relief for them, a little bit more comfortable, whereas LG on the other side, they're frustrated with themselves. I think they feel like this is slipping away from them and they had it in their grasp.
A little bit, but I think that the script that you're writing for these teams are getting flipped now because Space Station Gaming got off to that 3-0 start, but if they did secure it, what's going on here, dude?
Just trust me, trust me, trust me. Be a fun one. It's always fun for you guys at home. 2-1 Space Station Gaming lead. Can they close out the set on the next game? Let's ask to the desk.
Thanks a lot there, Hindu. Thanks a lot there, Agent Rossi. Fantastic stuff out of SSG so far. LG, like Tolly said, just almost had it, but it fell through at the end.
I feel like the same could be said for Game 2 as well, to a certain extent, but for what it's worth, Space Station have undoubtedly looked a lot cleaner as this set continues to progress. I think that Game 2, sure, they had some instances where they kind of faltered in the team fight, but ultimately were able to bring home the W, and it's not so much the same story here in Game 3. Game 3 felt a lot more one-sided for Space Station, and on top of that, I think andinster and Aquarius did a fantastic job at, again, just creating all these different entryways and openings to try and punish that backline. We haven't really seen a whole lot from Joshy and Oceans, largely because of the fact that they're just being focused out so quickly, and the separation as well from Space Station, I think, is causing a lot of issues for Luminosity.
That's the big deal here, and Space Station kind of identified their identity, if you will, a couple of weeks ago. We play through the right side of the map. andinster is playing like old Andy most of the time, and Aquarius is just stepping up to reveal himself as the real superstar of the squad. And BaRRaCCuDDa is able to make plays like this because of what happens from andinster setting that up. And late game, we see some more success out of the duo lane and players like Venenu because of what's been set up again. Andy does a lot of the hard work, and then here comes a little bit of help. Venenu's here to take care of Xaliea.
Maul is also getting off to that rough start. It definitely did not do Luminosity any favors.
Right.
I don't think that he was expecting to encounter both andinster and BaRRaCCuDDa at the Oracles at level 2. Maybe thinking that he would have a better opportunity to try and catch BaRRa off guard, possibly for an early duo lane gank. It's just a small rotation ends up making a really big difference, I think, because that also helps Andy with having a little bit more jungle control and not necessarily having to be as hesitant or concerned about a Serqet, because molluskk was almost immediately put like half a level to one full level behind.
And credit Space Station, that's not accidental. They didn't accidentally find molluskk. They didn't accidentally identify what he was going to do. Space Station Gaming, I've said it a number of times on this desk. We're heading into game number 4. I've said it at least 3 times. Luminosity has found success, when they have found success, off of early game molluskk prowess. The Serqet, the Hunbats, the Ratatasker, it gets a first blood, and then Luminosity spiral off of that. Space Station looked for molluskk in the beginning and put him down. That was the game plan they drew up in the locker room. It was the game plan they executed on the field, and it's the game plan they will talk about afterwards. And that whole mentality right there is what's important. That's what's going to turn Space Station around, whether it's Alpha Jackal, a team's new look on what's going on, whatever it is. It's a different style than what we've seen on SSG, and it's what SSG needs if they're going to continue to win.
And I also think that Luminosity, I mean, this is where the rookie reps start to come into being more of a factor, because Space Station, we talk about it all the time. This is a veteran squad with veteran members who have been around the scene for so long already. And Luminosity, right now, even just seeming to have a pretty tough time trying to sort things out.
And that's why you can see, you know, on screen, the 2 vocal guys is Kiki and Xaliea. Xaliea pacing behind Kiki, and Kiki just kind of asking what's up. But you can see Joshy and Oceans on either side just listening. The veterans. Xalia's been here since launch tournament. Kiki's been here just as long. These guys, while they haven't taken home a world championship trophy, Xalia's seen a lot of success. Kiki has seen some success. They've seen the league. So listen to those veterans. The rookie nature of this squad, the lack of experience certainly is showing. And like I said, listen to those guys in the middle. Joshy, of course, everybody's going to get involved, but those guys seem to be the center point of this LG team, and I think that's the right way to be.
I also think that if Space Station can continue just forcing this team fight separation for Luminosity, Luminosity is just going to continue to struggle as far as maintaining their composure throughout a match, because when you're constantly having 2 to 4 ultimates being committed onto one individual and intercarry like Joshy or Oceans, and then you're trying to peel, there's just so much chaos that begins to get involved. And a chaotic environment is one that gods like the Habwa can really thrive in. So for me, I think I want to see Luminosity maybe take it a step back from some of the more individual, like 1v1 style, because Serqet feels a little bit more like a I'm going to gank you in the jungle and get like the surprise pick on you. Exactly. And I think the same thing for the Chernobog even. It felt like Luminosity wanted to play this pick style, but Space Station just prevented that from selecting really strong area denial, and on top of that, just really strong burst characters like the Hubwa and the Neith that could definitely put a stop to that. So I want to see Luminosity probably just harbor a little bit more towards that actual team fight potential with themselves. They've had that in game 1, and that was the one game that we've seen them have the most success so far.
It certainly paid off in game number 1, but the last 2 have been a little bit more of an uphill battle here for the blue and white. So LG trying to focus on how they can shift things around. Space Station have already done that and showed us that. And again, you know, I keep mentioning the fact that they have a new coach and how that impacts things, and I think that's what we're seeing. Week number 1 that we saw them play with the coach 2 weeks ago, and they get to review the tape and everything and come back a second time. That's why I always, whenever you see a roster change, I want to give 2 weeks. 2 outings, and so I think this is a better look for SSG.
I think it's going to be the Xbalanque. That's got to be next on the chopping block for Luminosity. That Darkest Night has just been causing so many different issues, and it's hard to find picks for Luminosity when you can't see what's happening right in front of you.